Hey, what's happening, guys? Let's do some Week 12 updates. We're going to run through the DraftKings stuff that we did the other day. Most of it's going to be a repeat, but we got a new pick in there. And then we're going to go through the overlay jackpot stuff before Gino and Ray and the guys start asking for it. Yes, it's coming.
I feel like they're going to be showing up at your house any minute now.
Who said they're not?
Yeah. I'm excited to break this one down with you. Most of the main picks have stayed the same, but that's from our choosing. I feel like there could have been 25 guys we added.
Yeah, running back is insane this week, no doubt about it. We'll touch on that here briefly in a little bit. There's a bunch of guys we could have gone through. I just want to talk about this, though, real quick, guys. Pretty much every business in the world does some sort of Black Friday and Cyber Monday sale. We are no different. We got some badass sales rolling right now for anybody that's interested. So basically, you sign up for a monthly membership. The first month is $10. So you got to sign up through the website. You get a $20 reimbursement. You'll be all set and ready to go for the NBA when that starts in less than a month. Ready to rock that thing. You get multiple weeks of football for the price of just $10 low. Very, very cheap. Annual customers, if you pay through the website, I'll get you your reimbursement right away. Otherwise, it's $125 if you want to use the Venmo or the PayPal addresses below. That's a full calendar year, all three sports. If you signed up today, you'd have access to everything until the 29th of November next year. Massive reimbursement. Lifetime forever customers. I mean, it'll be a one-time payment of $275 and you're in permanently for good. Otherwise, if you pay through the site, you'll get your reimbursement by the end of the day. NBA, $60 for the full NBA season. NFL would be $49. All these are available to you. I did a longer video breaking them down if you want to check that out, but this is all up at your disposal. We would love to have you come join the team.
We sure would, and I am pumped to break this slate down with you Sunday morning. One of the best times of the week, man.
Let's get to it, Mr. Bellman. Subscribe and like if you can. The thumbs up never hurt anybody, and let's talk about the quarterback position. So quarterback it's loaded again this week, like it has been for most of the weeks so far this season. I can remember slates in years prior where it was more of a struggle to pick out a quarterback. We rarely have that these weeks. And I think the biggest thing I wanted to talk about with Josh Allen with you, there's a real risk in paying down at quarterbacks these days. I know for many years, especially in the cash game format, people tried to pay down at quarterback so they could load up on skill position players. But now that you have guys like the guy we're talking about right here, Josh Allen, who walk in every week with 30-plus point upside due to the arm and the legs, like there is a risk at paying down at quarterback these days and playing guys that don't use their legs as much. Josh Allen is one of several quarterbacks that are in a good spot this week that has, huge monster potential with both his arm and his legs. Home team coming off a bye. Playing against a Chargers team that we talked about earlier this week, it's all name and no substance. They don't stop anybody, but also they score at will, so you have to keep running up the score against them. There's nothing statistically good about their defense, and Josh Allen coming off a bye should be in line to put up really good DFS points.
Yeah, I completely agree. And just to touch on the point you made and take it a step further, it's very risky spending down at QB because you're not just taking a chance and fading a Josh Allen. You're fading all those guys up top that you mentioned. I mean, chances are 1, 2, 3, 4 of those guys up top are going to have very good games. To fade all of them and expect all of them to, just be mediocre, I think you're living in you're having delusions of grandeur. I think that you have to really weigh out the risk of spending down on QB. Not to say that it's never viable, because if you have a cheap QB who you think is going to play well, of course it's viable. But like you said, you really have to weigh out the benefits and risks when you've got guys like a Josh Allen who's in a really good spot, like you mentioned, coming off a bye week, coming off an awful loss in Arizona. I'm sure they're still feeling the stinger of that one. Chargers team that has been banged up on defense. They're without Melvin Ingram. There's a lot to like about Allen today. He's going to get love. I think, he's more than fine in all formats.
All right, next up. So, as my buddy Brad was saying yesterday, as the world turns, but as COVID turns, this is another situation. We're going to talk about the Colts running backs right here. Jonathan Taylor out dealing with the whole Rono situation like half the league, it feels like. So the Colts have a top-tier offensive line. Like they're good at run blocking. Phillip Rivers, I believe, has been sacked less than any other starting quarterback in the NFL. This is why they have an effective running game almost every single week. The problem always comes down to they live by the mantra that we're going to ride the hot hand, and they're going to go with whoever looks good that day. Last week it was Taylor. A couple weeks ago, HINES tore apart the Titans. On less than 20 touches, he had almost 30 DK points, got it done in the passing game and in the running game, scored multiple times. But with no Taylor out, it's a lot easier to look through the pecking order of what the Colts are probably going to do. The Titans are one of the worst defenses in football, which is, I didn't really think they were going to be that bad this year, but they have been.
Surprise.
And they give up the sixth most points to running backs.
With Mike Vrabel as their coach. It's surprising.
I'm pretty sure, I'm trying to think of who their best lineman is too, and I'm pretty sure he's out. Why is the name eluding me?
Their best D lineman? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm having a big brain fart right now, but I think he's out this week as well. So when this news came down yesterday, and I was trying to decide between HINES and Wilkins and where you would want to go, I just wanted to do an idea, and I asked a few people, and immediately, in pairing that with a Twitter poll, it was overwhelming Nyheim Hines love, which makes me believe that if you want to use these guys, you go HINES in cash, play the ownership game right there, and you go Wilkins in GPPs since he hasn't had a good game in a couple of weeks. He's the guy unlikely to get any love. It could be either of them. It could be both of them. I just think this is a situation where I mostly would want to play the ownership game because I think there's going to be a big discrepancy in who gets love.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I also think that, like you said, you could play both of them. You don't have to play either of them because there's so many good running backs on this slate. These guys, you mentioned it, the news came out yesterday. It seems like every minute, like you just mentioned, as COVID turns, we've got guys, cheap value all over the place. You're 100% right. HINES seems like the guy that everyone's going to gravitate to. I imagine his ownership is going to be
5-1.
Something like that, right? Like something around that. And again, you've always phrased this better than me. If I were just picking 1-1, I would take HINES over Wilkins. But
you also like the Titans today, so HINES makes sense for you because he's the pass catcher, right?
Yes, but I also don't think, no matter what scenario it is, that HINES is 5 times more likely to outperform Wilkins. And I'm sure you agree with that.
Yeah, definitely. 1-1, if this was an overlay question, and we'll get into overlay when this is all done, I would pick HINES. But I wouldn't say that I wouldn't be like, there's no chance I'm wrong. I could definitely see how I could be wrong in this situation. It could be either one of these guys. And they're both decent running backs. No, they're not, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt or anything like that, but they're both solid guys. They can get the job done.
HINES is the better PPR back. I mean, he catches balls. Wilkins doesn't really. But that doesn't mean that today HINES is going to be better. Exactly. I'm with you 100% here.
The Titans' defense looked slow. If you watch that game when the Colts played the Titans a couple of weeks ago, the Titans looked slow, and HINES was he looked like a video game out there. Like they just couldn't, he's quick and shifty. They just couldn't keep up with that.
I think that in this scenario, and again, I think this game is probably a close game. These teams are even teams. If you think that the Colts get ahead by a lot in this game, then you probably like Wilkins more than HINES. If you think that the other way, that Tennessee gets up, you like HINES more than Wilkins. If you think it's probably what it's going to be, a competitive game, I think there's real good rationale for both.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. All right, next up, TYREEK Hill. So I don't think we disagree the way other people see this slate, or we disagree the way the other one sees this slate, but I'd say the guy that we probably most agree on this week is TYREEK Hill of the Kansas City Chiefs. And I don't know about you. I think you're with me on this one. I completely agree with the consensus that this game should have offense, right? Like we have a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team coming off of, an embarrassing loss. That's a couple embarrassing losses lately. But the reason for those losses are a pretty specific formula that can get to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Drop 7, rush 4, get pressure on the quarterback. It's not really the Kansas City Chiefs. I expect this game to have offense. We also know you can't run on Tampa, which means it should be a heavy dosage of Mahomes throwing to a couple of studs, specifically the boy TYREEK Hill, who has been bulletproof all year long. He has one bad game on the docket all season. That was against Buffalo when they ran the ball more effectively than they have all season long. It was a bad weather game. Other than that, I think this dude's got double digits in every game. He's gone off multiple weeks in a row. He's just really, really good. He's basically unstoppable. And he has the cash game consistency I like with the GPP upside that you and pretty much anybody likes.
Yeah, yes to all your points. I don't have anything to add here because we fully agree on this one. We've talked about it all week, basically. One of our favorite plays on the slate. We like this game. I might like this game slightly more than you, but I don't even know. Either way, we both like pieces from it. And, obviously the two main pieces from KC are pretty obvious, aside from Aside from
Exactly. Le'Veon Bell and Demarcus Robinson, you nailed it.
What about Watkins?
Yeah, I mean, I can see taking a chance on any of those dudes in GPPs. We know who the main two guys are. If you don't know who the main two guys are in Kansas City for DFS points, and we're talking skill positions, not quarterbacks, then I wouldn't be playing money on DraftKings.
Amen.
All right, so I know you wanted to touch on James White, and I think the top reason to look at him today is there's so many cheap running backs. Like, what do you think his ownership is today? Because I'd guess under 2%.
Something like that. I was at the beginning of the week, I was going to say somewhere around 5 to 10%. Now probably cutting half of that.
So go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So, and that was a big reason why I wanted to keep him on the list today, was because nothing has changed at all with James White. I liked him a lot at the beginning of the week. I liked him a lot in the middle of the week. I still like him a lot today. But as you mentioned, a lot of other better, more desirable, however you want to put it, value plays have come out. So I think that a lot of the people that were looking at James White are now going to be off of him, because we have HINES, Wilkins, Brian Hill, a bunch more guys that are in play there. So I think White is getting, going completely under the radar today. He's in a really good spot against an Arizona defense that, as you mentioned, leaves a lot to be desired. There should be points in this game. All of a sudden, New England is without their left tackle, who I think just got put on IR. And I think that helps White here. I think they're going to struggle to be able to pound the rock with Damian Harris and potentially Sony Michel. I think this is a game script where you could easily see New England get down, and they need James White. No Rex Burkhead. I get it that guys in other spots are probably guaranteed for more carries, but I love James White's GPP upside. I think he's worth definitely taking a shot with, and I want to hear how you think about him now.
Well, I don't play as many GPPs, and I don't have many ink this weekend, so I probably won't be using him, but I understand the rationale for it. And especially in deeper GPPs, like, a guy like NYHEIM Hines, he's not guaranteed to succeed. Brian Hill is not guaranteed to succeed. There's a whole bunch of cheap running backs this week, and we know who the chalk is going to be. But those chalky guys are not guaranteed to success. So it's not crazy to think that some of these lower-owned running backs who would be much more popular on different weeks without the Rona doing what it's done this week to outscore these guys.
Like when you asked me this morning if about changes we got to make to the video, and I asked you about like Hines or Hill, that was just because I was like really considering changing White to Hill because, Hill seems very obvious, but I wanted to talk White out, and I really wanted to hear how you thought about him still.
Yeah, I mean, and the reason I didn't use Hill is because I think like Hill is overwhelming chalk and everybody knows about it. So
yeah, he's very obvious.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't be giving any kind of information that most people don't know already.
Agreed.
All right, next up is DJ Moore. Interesting game in Carolina at Minnesota today. I know it sounds like you like Carolina to have some success throwing the ball. I think the key thing for DJ Moore is this guy is very big game capable. I know I had the stat earlier this week when we talked him over. He's got a catch of over 30 yards in almost every game this year. Well, he gets a weak Vikings secondary. So I would say the odds-on favorites are for him to have another game where he's got at least one really, really big catch, maybe two. You can beat the secondary deep. There's no Christian McCaffrey, which means they're not going to be leaning on him all day. And you can definitely expose this defense with that one play type of threat.
He's also missed, either just overthrown or just out of his hands 2 or 3 deep balls in the past month, 5 weeks that would obviously just add to his game log. So we brought up DJ Moore at the beginning of the week. Still like him a lot. He's been really good recently. He just looks spectacular if you watch him. But the other part of this that I wanted to bring up, which we didn't bring up at the beginning of the week, is Teddy Bridgewater. So kind of had slipped my mind, but Bridgewater is definitely back this week in a big-time revenge spot against his former team. Now, not using Bridgewater because of that, not, planting my flag completely on Teddy Bridgewater because of that, but it does mean something to me. He's mentioned it multiple times this week. He mentioned it when he signed, and that's Bridgewater, that is, that this is a big game for him. It's a big game for Carolina. That only helps his receivers here. If Bridgewater plays well in this spot, that will help his receivers. I think that you could see Bridgewater have a really good game, specifically because the Minnesota defense sucks. And again, Carolina's got 3 stud wide receivers. DJ Moore is right on top of that list, however you want to rank him.
Yeah, I would say he's probably the best. Right? I mean, I know Anderson had his play in the beginning part of the year, and it looked like him and Bridgewater were really, really connected. But, I mean, DJ Moore, I think, is the best of the group.
I think he is the best of the group too, but like you kind of just said, it almost changes week to week.
Well, how they use them changes week to week.
Yeah,
But like if you were a GM right now,
fair enough.
And you asked me who I wanted on my team, it'd be DJ Moore.
Definitely. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. Okay. That all being said, guys, let's roll over to overlay. The progressive contests are out, and let's kind of talk through who it is that we'll be looking at this week. So first things first, Kyler Murray taking on New England versus Patrick Mahomes taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Like, look, I don't ever really want to pick against Kyler Murray, but he's a little bit banged up this week. I'm pretty sure Belichick is going to do two things in this game. He's going to do his best to take away Hopkins and do his best to slow down Murray's running attack. With a little bit of a shoulder injury, maybe he will be a little hesitant to run the ball. I love Mahomes today, so give me Mahomes.
Give me Mahomes.
Again, it sucks to pick against Kyler Murray, though, so this could never be a number one out of your confidence rankings.
Agreed.
All right, Derek Carr versus Matt Ryan. Give me Derek Carr. Sounds like Julio is not going to play today. It hasn't been officially announced, but he's definitely trending towards being out. I don't like Matt Ryan without Julio nearly as much, so I'll take Derek Carr.
If Julio plays, I like Matt Ryan. If he's out, I'll take Derek Carr, but I don't like it as much as you do.
Yeah, I don't love it, but I'm pretty sure Julio not expected to play today.
Okay, I didn't see that.
So, all right. Next up, Tyler Boyd against T. Higgins. I mean, I don't know, guys. Honestly, I have not seen this quarterback play with these guys. I don't know if he's got anybody that he likes more than the other. Something tells me Tyler Boyd out of the slot, but that's nothing but a pure guess at this point.
Give me Boyd. I just feel safer with him.
Yeah, it's a tough one, right? When you get these unknown situations, and we got a bunch of them this week, it's tough to know where to go, and this is definitely one of those.
No doubt.
All right, Evan Ingram versus T.Y. Hilton. Give me Ingram. Since he struggles against the tight end position, I'm not a big Hilton guy. I know Rivers is a little bit banged up, so I kind of expect him to utilize a short passing game just a little bit more. Plus, you're a big Pittman guy, and he seems to be emerging as the number one guy over there.
Yeah, I'll take Ingram.
All right, Jerry Jeudy versus Tim Patrick. Give me Jerry Jeudy.
Give me Jeudy for sure.
This is another one. Who the hell knows what the Broncos are going to do today? I just think Jerry Jeudy might literally get some end arounds, and Tim Patrick runs everything out of the outside. I mean, Denver could score negative points today. This is one of the weirdest NFL situations I have ever seen in my entire life.
No doubt about it, man.
All right, Chris Godwin versus Evans. I'm going to go with your boy Evans here. Why? Because I think this game is high scoring. He is the red zone focal point. I'm not saying Godwin won't score, but once they get inside the 10, they look in Evans' direction. I think Evans could score twice today.
Full point PPR, I'm taking Godwin. Half point, give me Evans. I think it's that close.
All right, Tyreek Hill versus Travis Kelce. Go flip a coin. I'm going to go Tyreek Hill because I'm all in on him, but I think I wrote in the write-up yesterday, Matt thinks Travis Kelce is the greatest thing since the wheel was invented, and I can't argue that point this week. He seems like a pretty good place to go for points. I'm going to go Hill, but with no real rhyme or reason.
It's hard not to get to Kelce on pay sites with so much value. On here, it's the same as the one before, man. I'm going to take Tyreek Hill, but if it were full point PPR, I'd go Kelce. It's that close for me.
All right, Robbie Anderson versus DJ Moore. Give me DJ Moore.
Same. We just talked about this, I think.
Yes, we did. All right, Cooper Kupp against Robert Woods. Give me Bob Woods on this one, only because I don't think the Rams do a ton of throwing today. Woods gets a couple of end arounds. He's a little bigger, could hit pay dirt, maybe just a smidge easier. I don't love it because I never love picking between these guys, but that's what I'm going to use today.
For me, this hasn't been talked about at all, but at the play before halftime last week, Cooper Kupp looked like he got hurt. And then in the second half, he didn't get nearly as many targets. So I'm going to go on that and take Robert Woods.
I did not realize that, but it definitely doesn't hurt my opinion on taking Woods right here. I'll tell you that much. All right. Keenan Allen versus Stephon Diggs. Give me Keenan Allen. It's close. Allen scores more touchdowns. Also, they move him everywhere. He is more needed for his team. A little bit. There's no John Brown, so maybe Stephon Diggs will be a little bit more. I don't know. Keenan Allen by an eyelash.
It's tough because now Eckler's back, so I'm not sure about that, but I still agree with you, so I'll go Keenan Allen, but not excited about picking it.
Yeah, I read this morning that they're going to ease Eckler back in today, so that doesn't take as much away from Keenan, maybe?
So did I, but then I heard that Kalen Ballage is also out, so I'm like, what are they going to do?
Yeah, I don't think Balaj is still questionable, but I don't think he plays based on what I read. So maybe um, Kelly gets a couple runs. Maybe your boy Pope.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's a big unknown.
Like I have Eckler in a year-long league that I made a big trade for earlier in the year. That now looks like a really bad move on my part, but I looked at Eckler's stretch run and who he's going to match up with, and I liked him. So I'm hoping they ease him back in today, but he's full go after this once the playoffs start.
Yeah, I don't think you can use him today.
Yeah, no, I mean I have Wayne Gallman. I'm going to use over him this week because he's in a crush spot against Cincy.
For sure.
All right, Derrick Henry versus Josh Jacobs. I mean, I normally prefer Derrick Henry, but I like the spot against Atlanta just better than I do against the Colts. So I think we're going to disagree on this one. I'm going to take Jacobs.
Yeah, we are going to disagree. I mean, it's very close. I like Henry slightly more, but it's very, very close.
Yeah, there's got to be a matchup difference for me to ever pick Jacobs over Henry. They're very much the same guy, but Jacobs also does get more dump offs. Not like he's heavily involved in the passing game, but a little bit more.
Yes, if it were full point PPR, I might choose Jacobs here. Not that it really matters with him, but it means a little bit.
When it's close like that. All right. Chubb versus Kamara. Give me Chubb. Chubb. I know he wasn't as good for you last week as you wanted to, but I think this is the week where he could really, really go off. So I'm all over your boy Chubb on this one.
Yeah, give me Chubb here.
Kamara had no catches last week. I doubt that happens again. But this is a weird week. This is the kind of week where, New Orleans, I think Latavius Murray might even have a nice game. You know what I mean? Because who knows what Denver brings.
I don't hate that call one iota.
All right. Henry Ruggs versus Hunter Renfrow. I don't know, Renfrow, I guess.
I'm going Ruggs here. I like this one a lot. Call. They've talked all week about how they want to get Ruggs more involved. And he's just, in another one, I've said this like 5 times now. In a PPR, I'd like Renfrow a lot more. In a half point or non PPR, give me Ruggs.
All right. And just to reiterate, this is the half point PPR website. I know we bring it up a couple times a show, but hell, even I forget sometimes.
Of course.
All right. Shepard versus Slayton. Give me Shepard.
Same. Patriot likes him a lot today, so I'll ride it.
Keelan Cole versus Laviska Shenault. So to address the question from Ben and Andy, who just asked me about this one, I have zero opinion on this one. I have absolutely no idea what to expect out of Mike Glennon in Jacksonville today. No DJ Chark do, and no Chris Conley. So I don't know, man. I have no real thoughts or opinions on what Jacksonville is going to bring today.
So I like Shenault here, but honestly, I think the sleeper of the crew is Colin Johnson, who's not getting any love, who has been presumably practicing with Mike Glennon a lot, like on the practice squad and on the second team. So, yeah, and again, I'm just throwing that out here. Whoever's still watching the video, get that extra little tidbit. Between these two guys, I'm going to go Shenault, but I'm with you, man. Like, I don't freaking know.
Yeah, I expect a heavy dose of James Robinson. This is a game where I don't think there's a ton of possessions. And what I mean by that is I think the Browns are able to run the ball successfully, which they are most weeks. I think Chubb has himself a day. He goes over 100 yards like he does basically every single week. Possibly the best pure runner of the football that there is in the game. I know Dalvin Cook is probably the best running back, but Nick Chubb he's a pure runner of the football as good as anybody that there is. And I think they run the ball well. I just don't think there's a ton of possessions right here.
For me, I don't disagree with that, but I'm also not going to be surprised if it plays out the other way. And there are more points than people think. A couple of reasons. One, the past month for Cleveland has been 3 awful weather games and a bye week. So finally, they're in a better spot in Jacksonville. I think you could see their passing game expand a little bit. Keep in mind, before Odell got hurt, which is pretty much before this past month, they were putting up 30-plus a game basically on everyone. Now, I know that Jacksonville kind of sucks, so that's half the battle here. I don't think it's crazy to think that Jacksonville has a little success offensively either. Browns defensively, no Denzel Ward. Obviously, it's going to come down to how good Mike Glennon can be. And what I mean by that is he's not going to be spectacular, but can he be decent and move the ball down the field?
Can he be better than Lutton? I mean, that wouldn't take much. It wouldn't take much at all. And this is a guy who lost his job to Mitch Trubisky, so how good is he? I have no idea. We haven't seen him play in a few years now.
Right, like, is he going to be like Nathan Peterman? I doubt it. Is he going to be like, Kurt Warner? I doubt it. But
is he going to be Carson Wentz bad?
Right. Like, where in the middle is he going to be? I don't know.
There's a lot of unknowns with some of these bad teams today. And, Jacksonville's going to be one of them. I mean, who the hell knows what the Broncos are going to bring to this situation? There's more unknowns than usual on here, but there's a lot of good plays at the same time. It's an interesting slate. I know most of them this year have been pretty interesting, but this one's up and down the slate is very intriguing. And I do think.
Go ahead.
Say, like, I'm assuming all the games play, but, like, keep your eyes peeled. Like, who knows with the NFL this year? All of a sudden, like, the Broncos game is canceled. I don't think that. It sounds like it's full bore going to play, but, like, I've got my eyes on all that stuff this morning.
Same. This slate feels very NBA-ish.
Yes. Yes, it does. And NBA can't get here soon enough.
No, it can't. I'm pumped.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys. That's what we got for you this Sunday morning. Get your money in on an overlay. All those memberships are available to you at your disposal. They run through tomorrow, which is Cyber Monday. If you're going to join the team, why not do it for less money?
Thanks, guys.